What's going on, everyone? The market had a pretty choppy and boring day, to be honest with you. About 69% of stocks in the S&P 500 finished in the red, and as we've been saying for a while now, those who succeed over the long term in the market are those who adapt best to it. It's very easy to make money in a bull market where any and every stock is just rising on a daily basis, but the true test comes in when conditions change, right? And conditions have been changing for a couple weeks now, to say the least. So in today's video, we're going to talk about where the money's flowing right now, some important things to know, and what to be aware of looking at the market right now. Stick with us all the way to the end, as we have a pretty interesting $600,000 big money play today as well. But with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into it.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy today, Mike. The overall market was very choppy. Like you said, it really failed to break back to the upside today. You can see it actually attempted a few times throughout the day today, even whenever Powell was speaking today, which we'll get into in a minute, was pretty big. You can see the market tried to run for a minute there and then got rejected right back down. So I would say today was a fairly weak day for the market overall, especially coming off of that big sell-off yesterday. We've been seeing a lot of good recoveries off of these big sell-off days over the next couple days, and today it was interesting to see it kind of stay lower. So I'm not liking that, Mike, and there's a big support down here in the short term, right around the 502.50 area. You can see a bunch of wicks that were extending down there today, and every time the SPY got to those levels, it started getting bought right back up. So if we do see a breakdown below that tomorrow, I'm going to have to watch $500 in the short term, Mike. That is going to come into play sooner rather than later. I have a feeling, especially with all the crazy news going on around the world. So definitely watch out for that. But like I said, Powell did actually speak today, and he said that there was lack of progress on inflation, which is obviously not good. That means that they might keep rates a little bit higher for a little longer. So it's not good whenever Powell's saying things like this, Mike, that, there's lack of progress on inflation, in his own words.
Exactly, and just look at the market. As you already pointed out, it was a pretty weak day. The market tried to run up multiple times, but it got rejected right back down every single time. So what does that tell you in plain English? You know, the flows are changing, and they're becoming more bearish by the day, but at the same time, it is not the end of the world. It's just we're seeing a natural pullback right now, which is a good thing, because you can't just have the market rise every single day like it has been since the beginning of November of 2023. The most important thing is to just make sure you're positioned well, where when the pullback does happen, you don't get taken to the woodshed, as some would say. But good stuff on those fronts, Tom. And looking at the market right now, what would you say are like the most important levels to keep in mind over the next couple days?
Yeah, so the big one, like I said earlier, that 502.50 area, I would say tomorrow is going to be the best spot to look at. Like I said, there's been a lot of wicks there that extend down today and touch that level, so I think that's going to be very crucial. Now, what's pretty crazy, Mike, is you have to go back pretty far on an hourly chart to see the big areas of support coming up, which is pretty crazy because the SPY hasn't been at these levels in so long, but you can see that on the chart, the main area down there below 500 is like that 495 support. That's like right where there was a lot of price action there. So this spot that we're at, though, where we closed today, 502.50 is going to be huge. There was a lot of hits here lately, so if we see that big breakdown tomorrow, once we get to 500, after that, 496 and 495 are really the next main areas there. Now, let's say the market does run up. Today, it kept rejecting right around the 506 area. I'm using 509 and 510 as a big resistance in the short term. That's where a lot of the price action was a couple days ago, and I'll keep watching that overhead, but I don't know, Mike, with all the bearish activity here in the short term, I'm definitely more excited about those downside opportunities and those downside levels there.
Yep, I don't blame you, and it's about that time that earnings season is starting to heat back up again, and we're getting towards the middle to end of the week, which is when some of these bigger companies are set to report. So what's on the schedule?
Yeah, tomorrow we actually have Abbott reporting before open, ASML, US Bancorp, so there's quite a few here, but I will say there's nothing too crazy tomorrow. LVS, or Las Vegas Sands, is probably my favorite one. I know some people like Alcoa. Discover Financial, DFS, is pretty big as well. Even CSX, like one of the rail car, like the freight companies reporting there, so that's okay, but really Thursday is the big day, Mike. We keep saying that. Taiwan Semiconductors and Netflix, everyone's going to be watching that. Even KeyBank there on Thursday, pretty big too. So I'm really just waiting for Thursday here on the earnings, but there are a lot sprinkled in.
Yeah, I think Netflix and TSM are going to be the biggest reports of the week by far, and the results of these reports will have a pretty big impact on the rest of the market. For example, if we look at Netflix chart, we can see in the past it has had some pretty substantial moves around its earnings report. One of the craziest ones that I could remember in the short term was its report in January of 2022. That was a nasty drop there, and it had a direct impact on the market just by itself. So, of course, it's very unlikely that we would see a move this time of that magnitude, but the point still stands. When you have a big tech powerhouse like Netflix reporting earnings, whether it's positive or negative, it has a pretty big impact directly on the market, but even more importantly, it sets the tone for the rest of these big tech stocks that will report earnings next week and the week after that. So, to say the least, these next couple days will be pretty important, and just make sure to keep a close eye on Netflix and then, again, TSM, because that's also tied to all these semiconductor/chip stocks that have been like the hottest stocks in the market over the past quarter.
Yeah, they really have. I think TSM will be pretty interesting. I know Netflix is a little bit more fun to watch because you can see all of their streaming numbers and everything like that. It's a lot cooler, but TSM being in that chip sector is going to be pretty important. I know that they have a lot of competition out there too that's been going crazy lately. And speaking of that competition, Mike, we actually had some news with AMD here in the short term as well. I figured I'd bring it up with the semiconductors here. Looks like they actually unveiled some new chips today. Now, I will say this didn't necessarily take the market by storm, right? Like AMD didn't fly up 5% or anything crazy like that, but they did roll out some pretty good chips that they're talking about that they will power good like AI PCs. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of the chips exactly, but they did say that they are referring to them as their most powerful chips yet for business PCs. That's a pretty big statement. So I don't know, Mike, seems like a pretty big thing for AMD. I was surprised that they actually didn't move more. I know the overall market really influenced a lot of that price action today, but I still would have expected a little bit more of a breakout.
Yep, so we shall see. But another area of the market that has been pretty crazy lately is Bitcoin and these other crypto-related stocks. And Bitcoin is back down to like the $63,000 level. Just about a month ago or so, it was all the way up to like 73, a little bit over 73,000. So it's been a little bit stagnant lately. And what are your thoughts on the halving coming up as well?
Yeah, the countdown, right? That's going to be fun here over the next few days. Looks like we're almost exactly 3 days out right now at the time of this recording. Looks like Friday night around sometime. This number keeps changing. They keep changing it from like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Yesterday it was 8 p.m. So I don't know, Mike, but it looks like Friday sometime after close will be when the halving occurs. You can see the blocks remaining right there, 462. It's going to be a big event. I know there's been a lot of crazy analysts out there too. I feel like every time I get on a news article website, Mike, someone's saying Bitcoin's going to go to 120,000. We're going to explode with the halving and everything. And I don't know if they're just playing up to the hype or what, but I cannot wait to see what this event holds for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's such a big market now in the world. And if it does end up breaking highs, like after the halving or something, like let's say it generates a lot of hype, that would be pretty big here. 100,000 is not too far off considering how much it's ran up this year.
Tom, you know how the game goes. Like when Bitcoin's uptrending, it's a contest of who could have the most bold price target. One person will say 100,000, the next person will say 200,000, and then you have that one crazy guy who says 500,000, and then when the price falls, they all disappear, and then when it starts rising again, they appear out of the woodworks, right? And it just repeats over and over and over again. And it kind of works the same with stocks to a certain extent. But either way, looking at Bitcoin in the short term, the momentum has been a little bit flat lately, but given the halving event, it can see an increase in momentum. And, there's not really much use, in my opinion, trying to sit here and predict a giant market like Bitcoin and what it might do at the halving event, but instead react to what happened. So, for example, if we see Bitcoin start to break lower in a momentum-filled way, then there should be some good opportunities playing that to the downside, whether it is some of these Bitcoin ETFs or even crypto-related stocks like Coinbase, MARA, Riot, or anything like that. At the same time, if Bitcoin starts to move to the upside in a momentum-filled way, then of course you can play the upside with all of the setups mentioned. But either way, keep a close on watch because there is a lot of hype anticipated for this event. But Tom, I think we're all set and ready to get into some setups and predictions for tomorrow. A stock I'm watching pretty closely is Microsoft, a big tech powerhouse, but to the downside. So this stock had a really rough day yesterday, and it held up fine today, but I think today it was just more so like a small bounce more than anything else. And if we see a break below that like $412 area, I would definitely look at this one in a bearish way for the short term. They are a powerhouse, but they're a little bit overextended, and the recent flows with this stock have been pretty bearish.
Yeah, it's been pretty rough lately for Microsoft, and I know that they had a fairly good run this morning, but that pullback end of day was kind of rough, and yeah, I'll definitely keep that 412 support on watch. That's a big level here in the short term. With my first play, Mike, I'm looking at SQQQ once again, and I really like the support that we're seeing on the NASDAQ here, or the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ ETF, of course, that most people trade. Whenever I look at this, there's a big level here at 430. We even talked about SPY today having a big support down here where a lot of these wicks were extending to. QQQ has the same exact setup going on. So if we do see QQQ start to run under 430 tomorrow, SQQQ could be a great opportunity to the upside. The other day, whenever QQQ ran down, intraday from open to around close, it was up 7.8%. That's a pretty good run there, and those options were up a hell of a lot more than that. So I'm going to keep watching SQQQ. And Mike, I did want to throw in GLD as a slight mention too. Just wanted to say it because it actually had a fairly good day today.
Yeah, gold prices are holding very steadily, so good stuff there. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Nvidia, and it is also to the downside. So it is holding up pretty good in the short term, but I just think I think it's just overdue for a pullback, and I think that it has already started to weaken a decent amount over the past couple of weeks. So if we see Nvidia get back down to that $860 level, I would definitely look at playing it again to the downside. When this stock does move with momentum, the moves are normally pretty good, just like we saw yesterday, but one of the most important things with a stock like Nvidia is you need to have a real momentum with it. If the stock is just chopping around and it's down, 0.5% or just a very small and meaningless amount, then it's not really worth playing. But when it does have those moves, it moves in a more powerful way than almost any other stock out there.
Yeah, it does. And I feel like a lot of these stocks today tried to come back, and I hate to say it, Mike, but I feel like it's a bit of a dead cat bounce, or just a slight consolidation before we see larger drop-offs here. And not just for Nvidia, but there's a lot of tech stocks out there like Microsoft, like you mentioned, Tesla and others. And speaking of Tesla, that's actually my next play. Tesla was pretty bad today. They ended up running all the way down to 154, and we were watching a pretty big level on Bookmap over the past couple weeks at that 160 mark, and we talked about this yesterday, and I'm going to talk about it again. So that 160 level broke today, and Tesla had a great breakdown. Over the next couple days, there's another big support coming up right around 150. If we continue to see good selling pressure out of the overall market, Tesla will be one of those stocks that I will continue to watch to the downside. I'm actually looking at it over the longer term. I've said this a few times now on the videos, down to around 110 to $100, somewhere like that over the next year or so would be what I'm watching. But in the short term, this 150 spot's huge. There's 600,000 shares stacked there on the Bookmap, one of the bigger levels that we've seen besides 160 lately. So that's going to definitely be on my radar for the next couple days as a bit of a target.
Sounds good. And then it's also a pretty big psychological level. That $150 area is a level that Tesla stock has not been at for some time. It was actually, you have to go all the way back to January of 20 or February of 2023. It has been a while. So good stuff there, Tom. And let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have Amazon also to the downside.
Ticker symbol AMZN, pretty rough today. If they get back under this like 182.50, maybe 182.30 support, then I'll go ahead and look at those puts there. I hate to say it, Mike, but tonight's not a good video for the bulls if you're bullish on these bigger tech stocks here in the short term.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We do have a couple bullish plays sprinkled in, which brings us to our next one, which is SE to the upside.
Yeah, SE, and it's never bad though, because you have to be adaptable out there in the market, but SE had a great move today. I mean, that's a huge run to the upside. I even like how it closed fairly high too. If it ends up breaking above that high of day right around 57.20, then I'll look at calls, and I'll even put an alert around 57, because realistically, I think if we break that, we'll be on the way up.
All right, and then with the last one, we have SMCI for both directions.
SMCI actually had a really good day today as well. It's getting pretty close to $1,000 again. If this stock does go up tomorrow, that might be a good target. So if we break above like 994 tomorrow, maybe watch that $1,000 mark as a target for SMCI. But I really want to see that 994, 995 level break first. And to the downside, Mike, I am actually looking at 935. That was a big intraday level today. It broke right above there and then ended up exploding once that level broke. So I'm definitely going to be watching that area as support to the downside here.
Sounds good. So we have the downside level for puts, and we have the upside level for calls with this one. Don't forget about the other setups like SE with its upside level there, and then Amazon with its downside level there. These three stocks are on watch tomorrow for day trades if and only if they break through the levels Tom listed. We are looking for strong, consistent, powerful price action and movement for these stocks. The more momentum, the better. So keep them close on watch. But let's also jump right into today's $600,000 big money trade of the day. And we are looking at ticker symbol WBA. So Walgreens is a stock that we just touched on a couple weeks ago with a different big money trade. But for today's, the big money put again around 600 grand into the $17.50 strike call options that expire on June 21st of 2024. These call options are already in the money. There's a good amount of time to them. Walgreens is in its largest drawdown in history. And the stock has been a complete bloodbath for some time now, right? And we're getting to the point where the stock is getting pretty oversold. And just from like a charting standpoint, it would not be unreasonable to expect a bounce soon. So I think the big money is seeing that as well as, we've seen two recent bullish plays with this one. But yeah, it's definitely not bad. I like how the call options are in the money and they have time. So it's a very interesting setup.
Yeah, hopefully that other big money play, Mike, hopefully they're prepared to hold this one for a while because this baby's been going down since they got it. But at the end of the day, it's impossible to time the bottom. And whenever you go back and you look at these big swings with Walgreens, even on the way down, some of these uptrends here are crazy, like 64% on that little uptrend, had another uptrend back in 2018 up like 43%. So some of these moves back can be pretty good. So I'm definitely going to be watching this one very closely. The one thing that does scare me a little bit is that if we go back to a weekly chart, there's a pretty big support on Walgreens where we've seen a lot of bounces right around this like $20 to $21 level. We're now starting to see a pretty clear break under that, which is a little bit worrying to me in the short term. But then again, I do like getting more time on this one than less time. That's for sure.
All right, sounds good. So keep a close eye on this one as well. But whether you're looking at a recent big money play, a momentum trade, Bitcoin, gold, oil, the S&P 500, it doesn't matter. The most important thing, especially right now, is make sure that no matter what happens with the market, whether it goes up or down, you are in a position to survive, right? During times when you see the market make a big move, like especially over the past couple of months, the market is just rocketed to the upside. People get euphoric and they get overly bullish. And then when a normal, healthy pullback does happen, some people are left over leveraged and just overexposed. So I want to make sure that most people can survive a pullback, right? That's the most important thing. Make sure you're not over leveraged. Adapt with changing market conditions. Always keep your risk management in in line, you can say. Keep your head up high, and let's continue to have a great week. Earnings season is back in action, and the earnings schedule especially is only going to get more and more crazy as these weeks go by. It's an exciting time to be a trader. Again, keep your risk management in line, because that's super important, and too many people fall for the same mistakes over and over and over again, especially in these market conditions. And if you guys are new to the channel, consider demolishing that subscribe button to join the Stocked Up crew and get our videos recommended to you more often. It takes 2 seconds, it costs nothing, and why not join the Stocked Up crew? But Tom, we do have one other thing to cover, and that is the economic schedule. So what do we have to know?
Yeah, so going into it, Mike, looking at it here, we had the Powell speech today. Tomorrow, we just have a few Fed speakers. Going into Thursday, we do have initial jobless claims and then more Fed speakers there like Bowman, Williams, Bostic there towards the end of the day. And then Friday, another Fed speaker. So not really too much, Mike. I'd say initial jobless claims are going to be the biggest thing there on Thursday morning.
Sounds great. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, demolish that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. And besides that, let's have a great week in the markets.